When I was in my early 20s, I was always like scheming and dreaming about the next holiday. I had a mate, a good friend of mine who was based in London, and we're like, okay, where are we going to go? Where's our next adventure? And we thought about this little island of Capri. It is truly one of God's favored creations. It's like small enough that you can travel around it in one day, but it's big enough that there's two cities. We had like a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend who had like a house there, and we had a outhouse where we were like sleeping on this fold out couch. And he said to us, come on, we're going to go out for the night. So we're like, all right, we're like, 22-year-old Aussies all like dressed up in our skinny jeans, because it was the early 2000s after all. We're out ready to hit the town. And he takes us to this place, and it's called Anima e Cora, which means the Heart and Soul Tavern. And it's like kind of, white with a dotted pink fuchsia, and it's like got the terracotta archway. And we're thinking, oh, okay, this looks kind of quaint. And as you step through the door, there's this long hallway, and it's got these printed photographs, and there's like celebrities like Beyonce, there's like movie stars, there's US presidents, there's even royalty that have been to this place. So it's like already you're in awe. And as I step into this big room, there's like right down the front, there's a band sitting around this little fenced off area, and there's a master of ceremonies singing away, and they're singing these songs, and everyone is singing with them, and they're all drinking champagne and prosecco, having the most amazing time. So my girlfriend and I and our friend, we walk all the way right down to the front, right near the stage, and we're like having the best time, clapping, sipping our prosecco, staring around. And my friend says to me, hey, you should get up and sing. And I was like, nah. She's like, you should get up and sing. I'm like, nah. And then maybe a few Prosecco's later, she like leans over to Guido and says, hey, my friend's a singer. You should ask her up there. And I was like, what? And he grabs my wrist, pulls me onto this stage. And suddenly I'm there staring out at this room of people who are looking back at this young blonde Aussie girl staring at them. Now, let's just pause for a minute. Could I sing? Yes. Did I dream of being an Aussie pop star? Yes. Was I also aware that this was the place where people like Beyonce, J-Lo, and later Katy Perry had sung in this place? Also, yes. So was I terrified in this moment, thinking, who am I to be on this stage with all of these incredible people? Hell yes. So he says to me, what do you want to sing? What do you want to sing? And I was like, I don't think I can ever remember any song ever again. I just paused, no idea, took a breath. And I thought, you know what? Eva Cassidy, Fields of Gold. And I grabbed that microphone, I planted my feet, and I sung the best damn version I could ever sing. And you can see it. Look at the way I'm like ripping that microphone and singing out. And I had the best time. Oh, I did it. So what is it that my story has to do with influence? Now, if you think about it, if someone has a car crash, what was the cause? Usually not one thing, but there's about 25 things that cause that car crash. When it comes to influence, there's probably about 25 things that make someone an effective influencer. And likewise, in my situation, the first thing was I needed to show up. I didn't just walk into the room to find that. That opportunity didn't just happen. I was in the room, but I wasn't just in the room. I was at the front of the room. I was ready for that moment of action. So likewise, in your moments where the opportunity comes to influence, are you in the right place to show up for that opportunity? One of the first things is you think about first impressions. Even today, if you've never met me before, you make a first impression of me within 3 seconds. You're already judging me based on what I look like, how I sound, even just be the shape of my face, which is making you think something about me. So how do we make that powerful? When we show up, it's also about how do we show up in terms of our first impression. It's about how do we quickly demonstrate credibility, how do we create contrast between others? How do we show those elements that are distinctive? And how do we do that in a way that is congruent and is consistent? And that's some of the thing where we look at show up. The other thing is, how do we team up? So we look at, how do we team up? Would I have gotten on that stage if it wasn't for my friend? I don't know if I would have. And likewise, whatever your context where you're trying to really build influence, who is the team that you're doing it with? If you're in business, who is the community? If you're looking for a mentor, who are the people that come around you? If you're a leader in an organization, who are the people that you've got running with you? Because we will influence so much more effectively when we do it together. So how do we team up? And the third one is, how do we step up? You know, what is it that takes us? That moment when he grabbed my hand and pulled me up there, I could have pulled back. I could have said, hell no, I'm not going up there. But I didn't. I went with that moment and I stepped up. For you, how do you, in the moment, when the opportunity comes, when someone says, will you present at the next business meeting? When someone says, could you have that difficult conversation with your colleague? When there's an opportunity to sell, when there's an opportunity, whatever your influence moment is, whether it's to talk to your teenager, how do we step up into those moments? An important factor in that moment is about the stories that we tell, the stories we tell ourselves, but also the stories we tell within an organizational context or in your business that help us to continue to step up. You know, when great things happen in your team, how are you sharing those stories? Because, you know, facts may be forgotten, but stories will stick.